Colombia.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Kyle. Today we are talking about this 3-part series that I'm going to introduce to the channel. It is about our travels from all over the world. My wife and I love to take trips from Scotland to New Zealand to Belize, Bora Bora, Jamaica, Bahamas. We've been to a ton of different places, but really for us, what happens is I pick one place one year and she picks the place next year, right? And then we go on some family vacations and such. Today marks the first of 3 episodes that we're going to introduce from Colombia. It's crazy because we were able to be invited by this guy named Carlos Lata. Carlos is actually a business partner of my wife when dealing in her day job. She works in the packaging world. She gets stuff sourced overseas for big companies here in the US. So what ended up happening was it's been the longest time since Carlos has actually wanted us to come to Colombia to enjoy it. It was an incredible experience and it was so cool to see the generosity of these guys because they were just so excited to have us there and enjoy our time. I'll tell you what though, Colombians love to party and they are some wild individuals. So we took this trip in the summer of 2023 and what was going on was we actually had plans to go to a different country completely, but we ended up getting a dog and had to be able to kind of stay home with the puppy, take care of him for a few months before we were actually able to go out again. And then this crazy situation of Colombia popped up out of nowhere. Carlos called us one day and was like, hey, we'd love for you to come. So we got booked on the flights out and the first day was just absolutely chaos. We got to the airport, we checked in, we got on our plane. It was pretty easy getting there, but once we landed, we realized that Spirit Airlines actually tore Megwin's bag in half and you could see the rip on the side of the bag. It just completely opened. Her stuff was everywhere and it was a mess. We were greeted by Carlos at the airport. He then took us to some sushi and some beers just to let us relax at the end of the day, and it was so amazing just to hear the sights and sounds of Colombia. After a quick nap and trying to find the cars, we were off to go somewhere that Carlos had planned out for us. We actually had no clue what we were doing on this trip. We had 0 itinerary and he told us that he had planned everything. So we just kind of let him do his thing, worry about it. We love you, Carlos, but he was the worst planner on the planet. So we get in this car and we drive through Colombia, seeing the streets and the city of Barranquilla. It's where they actually have their facilities at. And so we were able to kind of go through the city, check it out. We didn't know quite well where we were going, but once we got there, we understood it was Carlos's parents' house. At the house, we were actually able to enjoy some time meeting the rest of his crew, his friends, his other family. He invited some of his co-workers over and those were actually parts of his family as well. So Daniel and Antonio came and all the wives came as well, and it was a great time to get to know one another. They treated us to an amazing seafood dinner and we got to just talk and get to know one another. So Carlos actually told us to bring the ripped up bag the next morning. We had no idea where we were going in the morning. We ended up at this beautiful little cafe, had some plantains, some salmon, some guac. It was really good. Once we finished there, we actually were planning on to go visit the actual facilities that Carlos has to get some of the business stuff out of the way. As we're driving to the facilities, we ended up seeing this crazy monument that was for the local soccer team and just different monuments and different buildings around the whole Barranquilla city itself. It was incredible to kind of see. Once we were done with the facilities, the plan was to drive to Cartagena and get settled in our hotel room that night. What was really weird is Carlos actually asked us to bring the bag with us when we went to go have breakfast, and once we got done there and went to the facilities, he ended up giving the bag to someone to kind of get fixed in the mix of all that. We showed up at lunch and it was just fine. It was perfectly fine. Someone went ahead and restitched it and we were good to go. We had no idea how that was possible. Apparently in Colombia, there's someone for everything. So on our way to Cartagena, we were able to see the beautiful Colombian sunset, and that made me pass out, to be honest with you. I was just out on the way down there. It took about an hour and a half to get down there, and I woke up right before we were about about to get into the fort. Now, Cartagena is actually built originally as a big fort, and inside of it is where there's churches and really neat city where the buildings are just so close together. It kind of reminds you of Venice if you've ever been to Venice, Italy. We were able to get settled in again at another beautiful hotel. We had no clue what this thing was going to entail. Meanwhile, all this is going on, we didn't actually realize that the World Cup was going on until we started seeing it on some of the TVs. And apparently Brazil was going against Colombia. It's their first time they ever have actually beaten them, and in that moment you could see the excitement from the locals themselves. And it was so special because this is the first time this has actually happened for them. We thought the city was gonna go nuts and people were just gonna party in the streets like crazy. So we ended up finishing getting ready for the next outing that we were doing. On this trip we actually had Megwin's boss and Megwin's boss's wife come with us, and we stayed in all these hotels on the way. We went to this rooftop bar to just enjoy with Alan and his wife, and it was just so cool to see the city at night. After a few laps around the city with the drone, we were told it was time to go eat, and we were able to walk towards this restaurant and just kind of scour the city at night. It's really cool because all the lights there are really tungsten and the buildings are so close together. It was wild to just kind of experience the locals with the local scene itself. We show up to the restaurant and Alan forgot to wear pants, so I tell you what, guys, Cartagena is just a beautiful place in general, and being able to just experience the first night there, it was magical to see the city come alive and be able to go inside the different restaurants and seeing how small the doors are and all the things. It's very historic there. So guys, this is part 1 of 3 different videos I'm gonna make for Colombia. What we're gonna do with this playlist is show you guys some of the different travel sites that we've visited. Not everything on this channel is gonna be about diving, but it's really gonna be about my experiences and showing the world through some of my lens and what I see it as. And I'm really just excited to be able to express myself creatively in that way. If you guys want to see part 2 of Colombia, where we go and explore the city and just check out its amazing sites, statues, culture, people, you guys can click the link above. And also, if you guys are here for the dive content, again, I'll be regularly posting some dive stuff as well. But this part here is just about my wife and I and where we've traveled and how we go about it. Guys, if you want to check out anything that we visited while we're in Cartagena or Barranquilla, I'm going to go ahead and leave the descriptions and links down below if you guys want to add them to your next itinerary going to Colombia. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoy this content as much as I do. I'll see you guys in the next episode, and I hope you guys dive Friday.